You know how sometimes when something really messed up happens, you try to move on, pretend it's over? That's what we did. After that night, the shaken wardrobe, the weird sounds, we stopped sleeping in the bedrooms. It was like an unspoken rule between me, Michael, and Jessica. No one sleeps alone, so we moved out into the living room. Mattresses on the floor, TV on low, all the lights off, except that one lamp in the corner. And for a while, it actually felt kind of peaceful. But peace doesn't last long in that house, because a few nights later, something else happened. Something way worse than a creaky old wardrobe. We kept the mattresses in the living room from that night on. I mean, we were still kind of shaken. Nobody said it out loud, but you could feel it, like the house was holding its breath or something. I wanted to ask Jessica, like really ask her, why she suddenly wanted to sleep with us that night. Why she just barged into the room like she'd seen something. But every time I tried, she just brushed it off. Later, she'd say, it's nothing. So yeah, I let it go for the time being. We turned on a movie, tried to act normal. But deep down I could tell we were all just pretending we weren't scared out of our minds. We always slept in the same order. Michael on one side, me in the middle, Jessica on the other. That night we were just lying there, talking about random stuff, trying to pretend everything was normal. But I couldn't help it. I turned to Jess and asked, "Hey, be honest, why'd you want to sleep with us tonight?" She was quiet for a second. Then she pointed toward the hallway, toward the glass cabinet near the front room, and she said, "I heard something just before I came in." I looked at her. What kind of something? She looked dead serious. It sounded like glass, like those fancy drinking glasses clinking together. Ting, ting, ting. Like something was shaking the cabinet. That cabinet was just for display. Nobody ever touched it, and it was always perfectly still until that night. Before he came to my room, he was still inside his own, trying to ignore the strange noises echoing through the house. But when he heard that unmistakable ting, ting, ting coming from outside, his curiosity got the best of him. He stepped out and immediately spotted an old-fashioned cabinet. Its doors made entirely of clear glass, fully transparent. Inside, he could see a collection of dusty glass jars, each one holding old photographs of my grandpa. But what made his blood run cold was the fact that these jars were slightly shaking, clinking against each other in perfect rhythm. Ting, ting, ting. There were no locks on the cabinet, nothing to hold it shut. And yet, the sound continued, soft but relentless. That's when he decided he had seen enough and bolted straight to my room. A few days after that incident, the house was surprisingly calm. There were no more supernatural occurrences. We got busy with college and our own routines, almost forgetting that Grandpa's house was starting to fall into disarray. Long story short, we decided to hire a housekeeper since Grandpa's house was quite large. With only 3 of us living there, we all agreed to chip in and pay for someone to help clean up the place. It didn't take long for us to find a housekeeper. Just 2 days later, we welcomed a new member into our little household. When she arrived, we gave her a room in the back. Now, I need to tell you this part so you can understand the strange and honestly horrifying thing that happened to her on her very first night staying with us. You remember when I first moved in alone. The house was filled with paintings and photographs, right? There were so many pictures, including portraits of my late grandmother. I took them all down and stashed them behind the glass cabinet, the same one that had freaked out my cousin just a few days ago. Our new housekeeper showed up around late afternoon, got settled in, and we gave her the back room, specifically meant for house staff. The next morning, after her first night in the house, she came to find me. I was still half asleep, lying on the couch in front of the TV in the living room. Michael and Jessica were crashed out next to me. She walked right up to us and sat down next to Michael. She looked shaken, scared even, which was odd because she seemed like a pretty cool, laid-back person. She leaned in and said, "Sir, I'm scared." I rubbed my eyes, still groggy, and asked, "Scared of what?" Without saying a word, she pulled up her sleeve and showed me her arm. Clear as day, there was a bright red handprint imprinted on her pale skin. It was so vivid, I almost thought she had pressed her hand against something wet or hot. Michael and Jessica both shot up, wide awake, leaning in to get a better look. Michael asked, "What happened? Who did that?" Our housekeeper took a deep breath and said that she had a dream the night before. In her dream, she saw an old woman with white hair holding her hand. The woman looked straight at her and whispered, "Please take care of my house." After seeing that red handprint, I got really curious about the woman she saw in her dream. I asked her to describe her, and she started explaining. She wasn't too tall, kind of like this and that, trying her best to paint a clear picture for the three of us. She even described her face, saying she saw it very clearly in the dream. That's when I got an idea. "Hey, hold on," I said. "Let me show you a picture of my grandma." I was just curious, not really expecting anything. I walked over to the glass cabinet in the living room, the same one that spooked my cousin a few days ago. That's where I had stashed all the old family photos after moving in, including the one of my grandma. I reached behind the glass door and pulled out the framed photo, brushing off the thin layer of dust that had settled on it. I handed it to her and asked, "Was this the woman you saw last night?" The second she looked at it, her eyes went wide and her face turned pale. She nodded slowly, almost in disbelief. I knew for a fact she had never seen that photo before. Nobody had. I had hidden all of them behind the glass cabinet the day I moved in. From that day on, she refused to sleep in the back room alone. Starting her second night, she dragged her mattress into the living room right next to ours. The three of us had already been sleeping there, with mattresses laid out in front of the TV. Now hers was added to the lineup, and all four of us slept there, side by side, too uneasy to sleep alone. That night marked the beginning of something I couldn't explain, a series of events that would only get stranger from there. We thought we were prepared for anything this house could throw at us, but we were wrong. Very wrong. The unsettling dreams, the whispers in the walls, and now, my housekeeper waking up with a red handprint after dreaming about my grandmother. It felt like the house was waking up, and it wanted us to know we weren't alone. But if you think the first few nights were disturbing, wait until you hear what happened next. Someone, or something new, decided to make an appearance. We call her the Lady in Red. Stay tuned for part 4, where secrets buried in this house start to reveal themselves, one nightmare at a time.